Well, welcome everyone to Entrepreneur Encounters hosted by Hefwassen Associates. I'm Brent Hefwassen, entrepreneur coach, and I'd really excited today to welcome Kim Malone, who is the founder of Reality Check by Kim. Entrepreneur Encounters is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to get together, for us to be able to hear their stories on this live stream and podcast, and also a forum and a format for entrepreneurs to be able to get together, share, get support, and get help for the things that they need. So, Kim, welcome to Entrepreneur Encounters. Thanks for coming on as our guest today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's just jump right in. Why don't you go ahead and describe to us a little bit about Reality Check by Kim and what can we expect when we meet with you?
Okay, so I developed Reality Check by Kim. I recently retired from the Department of Corrections after 20 years as a probation and parole agent. And what I wanted to do was to teach kids about the criminal justice system and what is all involved in it and things that happen to you that you might make bad decisions that have you being placed on supervision or God forbid going to prison. But I don't think young people understand that their actions, that their decisions and their behavior have consequences to them, and what kind of consequences, because a lot of them think that they were just doing that or they were only doing this, and those things are causing them to be getting involved with the law. So what Reality Check by Kim is I give a lot of presentations, workshops, seminars, and what I'm doing is giving students and young people real life situations, real life scenarios, real life guest speakers like people that have been in prison, people that have been in juvenile system, law enforcement friends that I have, and I have an attorney that helps me out, and I also have people that are prison guards that will come in and talk for my presentations and give them the real raw thing. This isn't the first 48, this is real life. And that's what I want them to understand. So that's my mission, is to teach young people how to make better decisions and know what the consequences are.
Well, that's awesome. I've always believed that if you can intervene sooner and find some paths to get folks on a different course, you can obviously have a lot better life outcome. So, why did you want to become an entrepreneur? What drove that passion inside you to move down that road?
Well, when you work for any agency or any company, and especially the government, you have policy and procedures that you need to follow as that employee. And there's some things that we agree with and some things that we don't. And just having to do that and not being able to sometimes lead with my heart or really indulge in what the problem is and getting deeper into this scenario or whatever they're going through. I just think that me being able to do it my way, so to speak, and what I found that works for me and dealing with this population, I just felt that I think I could make a great impact on the lives of these of our children and youth. So that's what drove me to do that. I was like, that's what I need to do, and that's what we need.
Awesome. A little Frank Sinatra, I'll do it my way. That is so, I think, typical of a lot of entrepreneurs is that they have a passion and desire to really chart a path that others haven't charted that way before. So that's great. Walk me through a little bit of your journey and what it takes to get started into business for you.
So obviously I have a niche for this. It's what I've done for the last 20 years of my life. And so I just started almost trying to figure out how I can impact them. What do I need to do? So at first, how I started this was I used to go into the local high school in my area when some of the teachers in certain classes, relationship classes, government classes, English classes, even had me coming in and talking to the kids. And the response that I got from not only the students, but from the teachers regarding what the information I was giving and how it was being given to them just in a relaxed atmosphere, free speaking off the top of my head, letting them ask me questions. Everybody was just like, everybody needs to hear this. You need to be telling everybody, parents and kids and everybody needs to hear this. And so, excuse me, that's kind of what started my journey. I really enjoyed doing it. And then the feedback that I was getting was just amazing. So I just thought, I think this is something that I want to do. So I just started out slowly, trying to build it up. I spoke to some like AAU basketball teams. My sons played basketball. The basketball team had a dinner one evening where all the families were there, and I talked about a few subjects, and it just went really well. And that's kind of what led me to start this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now you were in the Department of Corrections and you started getting this idea, I think if I recall from our discussions. Well, you had the idea earlier on, but you really decided to make it a business about 6, 8 months ago. Tell us
Correct.
a little bit about what happened in those transpiring 6 to 8 months that got you up to the point of launching.
Okay. So obviously with the last 6 to 8 months, we went into COVID-19, and then we started working from home. So what happened is instead of seeing my clients in person, I was talking to them by FaceTime or video chat. And it seemed like my clients relaxed a little more, maybe being in a different environment, maybe just talking to me where I wasn't physically there. And as I started doing this more and more during COVID, clients were saying, I really enjoy talking with you. You're such a great person, to express myself to. You're listening to me, you're understanding. And so I started thinking about how I could advance this, doing it that way and making people feel relaxed. And so with being at home, I was able to start working on things a little more and, taking the time to really start putting things together. And then I started doing coaching and entrepreneur programs, and it just kept feeding my passion. And I just knew that this was what I needed to do.
Yeah, that's great. What you mentioned some of that training and coaching and things. Tell us why that was, what you took and why that was important to you, and what you've grown from in the interim.
I couldn't be more grateful and thankful for all the programs that I've went through. I've done some coaching with you that it's just been phenomenal. It's taught me the process of this because as I'm thinking about, as you asked me, as I was thinking about building this, I'm thinking, oh, I need to write out this presentation and this seminar and this workshop. And going through the program, it actually taught me the steps to go, that you kind of feel what the client needs from you or the customer needs from you, and then build off of that instead of creating everything right away. So I think that saved me a lot of time and heartache to create something that may not be used. I also learned how to slow down and really think about what I'm doing, take that breath. Kind of how it taught me different is that when you're working for an agency or the government, they tell you the process, how you do this. And right now I have no process. It's Kim's process. I'm doing it and failing, or doing it and succeeding and learning as I'm going. Working with coaches and working with you, you gave me the answer, but really didn't give me the answer. So I would ask you something and then you'd question me back about, well, what do you think? Or how does, so I was really figuring things out myself with a little guidance, where when you're working for an agency, they're telling you, do this form, do this form, do this. And so it's a different kind of work, but because I have such a passion for it, it doesn't feel like work. So the programs that I've gone through have really helped in explaining the process, and you don't always have to spend money. You see a lot of these Facebook advertisements about how to do this, make 6 figures and this, and and just do this. And you don't have to spend money like that. It's just pure work and determination. And if you have a passion for it, it just becomes your second nature.
Yeah. Have you had some, can you give us some examples of where you maybe were starting down the path, whether it was developing curriculum or maybe trying to repurpose curriculum you already had, where as you've continued to do some of this exploration and learning, how maybe that sort of transformed or changed along the way for you?
Sure. So I started creating a little bit of curriculum regarding subjects that people were interested in or were happening at the time that I thought, will add into something, maybe a presentation that I was already doing. What I was finding out is that with COVID, kids are not really into being so structured anymore because they're structured already with the school days and how they're doing online and partially going in. So I kind of changed it back to which was my original idea, is to just free talk and make things light and give them scenarios or let them ask me questions. And I was able, because it's my niche and it's what I know, I'm able to gear it around what I want to get them. So they're actually learning, and I don't think that they're really understanding that they're getting beneficial information because I kind of make it free flowing. Another thing too, now that I'm talking about it, you and other entrepreneurs that I have met through meetings and groups have always said to stick to what you want to do and what your goal is. A lot of people will try to say, let's say mine is to talk with the youth, but a lot of people would say, oh, well, you should do that workshop for adults because, well, but that's not who I want to work with. I want to work with the kids. So try to stay true to yourself and do what you want to do, because it can start broadening out, and sometimes you have to be taken back in to refocus, which is what your mentors like you do, is bring you back to that focus and say, well, if you start doing this, is it going to cause you to lose focus?
Yeah, really. So really get niched in, really stay
Mhm.
focused on where your passion lies.
Correct.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs can probably relate to that story because we're all capable of doing a great number of things. Our business niche and our focus and where we're probably going to be most successful is to really dial in. And sometimes it feels counterproductive because why wouldn't I want to sell to everyone?
Right.
But I think you could probably relate as a solopreneur. That is both a difficult market to develop for, and it's kind of unfocused and it's hard to sell into.
Yep.
Um, you've had tell us about some of your background and how your network has played into some of your success getting to where you are now.
Okay. So it kind of seems a little difficult at times, and you think that people that you know or have worked with before will be like those target. Yeah, I'll hit so and so and so and so and ask them and whatnot, or you express what you're trying to do and they all think it's a great idea, but then when you come to them for that help or to try to see if you can get a contract with them or give your services, they kind of backpedal a little bit and it doesn't always work. And sometimes it would be very disheartening to me. I would be like, maybe this isn't right. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't for me. But what I would encourage is just to keep going. You have to find how you're going to get to your market or your customer and figure that out. At first, I started sending longer emails. And then I talked with you and you said, Kim, maybe you want to do shorter emails, because I was feeling that I had so much to offer and so much to give. And I wanted them to understand how this will do this, will do this, will do this. And really what I needed to do was make it short and brief about what services I offered, and that detailed stuff would come in when I actually had that meeting or conversation with them. So that really helped. I did some networking on LinkedIn. Again, when I was working for the department, I couldn't cross barriers because it would be a conflict of interest. So I started doing a little bit on LinkedIn. And what happened was somebody that I was friends with from many years ago when I was a teenager inboxed me and said, hey, let's talk about this. This is really interesting. Met with him. Talked with him, explained my services, thought it was a great idea. He's an assistant principal at an MPS high school. So he said, hey, I really want to introduce you to the principal here. I've told him about your ideas and he's, interested in hearing from you. And he's going on to tell me how great this principal is. And when he tells me the person's name, it actually is somebody that I went to high school with. The high school is the high school I attended, and he's now the principal. So it kind of worked out well that I knew the assistant principal and the principal, and they both knew my background. So they knew how determined I was, what my character is, what my, character is, and other things about me that I was not somebody that was, gonna half but do something or whatnot. So that really helped. And with COVID, it didn't turn out the way we had, wanted it to, the what direction I was coming in there as, but we found another one, and I'm in a restorative justice class where the teacher's talking about things on a historical view, and I'm bringing it in from a criminal justice view. And the kids are loving it. And the teacher and I are so glad that we were able to have this opportunity. So again, things may not always go as we thought they were going to go, but you just pivot and work to what it is and still make sure that you're being your authentic self and giving your all. Having this connection, yes, it helped me, but I also have to prove myself. They're not going to keep me there providing services if I'm not showing results. So I took advantage of the opportunity, but now I'm making sure that I'm giving back to them what they're expecting from me.
Well, it really sounds like it's a good thing you made good friends when you were in high school, because it sounds like that has come back to benefit, and you were able to use your existing network to already come with trust and credibility, which I
Right.
think is huge. I mean, that's just huge in the selling process. So, what type of obstacles did you encounter that made it maybe more difficult for you to become self-employed?
Well, obviously, I worked for the department for 20 years, so I had that steady income coming in. I get paid every 2 weeks. I know what my check is going to be. And so one of the obstacles I had to face or deal with is talking to my spouse, who also works full time, and say, hey, I want to retire. Fortunately, when we are in the positions that we're in with the Department of Corrections, we're considered protective status. So we're allowed to retire at the age of 50. So I waited a little after 50, just a smidge. And I talked to my husband about retiring. And I knew that retiring meant my pension was going to be a little bit less than what I'd bring home. I would no longer be putting into my 401k. I would no longer have health insurance unless I was going to pay this astronomical number that they wanted me to pay. And we would go down to one health insurance when we're used to having two. So it was a conversation that we had. And fortunately, my husband knows my go-getter attitude and that I had a belief and he believed in me. And so we agreed that I would retire. So that was a change that we had to make. And now I know that it's on me to try to have us maintain that, living that we were at when I was working. So I know what I have to do, and I know there's going to be high months and low months. And, in the summer, I obviously won't be working with the high schools. So, I'll be pivoting to another area or another population, and that's okay. And I'll figure it out. But it's those kinds of things that you have to think about in startup cost and things like that. So it worked out for me, but it's something you got to plan for.
So it sounds like you definitely worked closely with your family, with your husband in this
Mhm.
case, and worked a personal budget, because I think that crossover between the personal budget and that initial bootstrapping and what you're going to encounter with your business, there's a high overlap, especially in the beginning when you're, trying to land a few contracts. So,
Mhm.
so what resources and means did you need? We talked a little bit about you had a connection with a, former classmate that was now a principal or vice principal. What other resources and connections were valuable to you as you got launched?
Well, I think what I would really strongly suggest, and what is really needed, is that you have some type of coach or mentor, which I've worked with you. Um, even sometimes just texting the most simple question or emailing saying, hey, what about this? And waiting for you to respond back. The good part about that is that it's not just me making a decision. I'm actually bouncing it off somebody and that I'm getting a response. And it gives me that, whether you will respond right away or within an hour or whenever, that time to rethink. Sometimes we make such spontaneous decisions, and it's nice to have someone that's been through there and is coaching people to help make this decision, or not give me the answer, but give me little tidbits of what about this or what about this, and that really helps me out. Other things is, just trying to build your clientele. Sometimes that's a struggle too, but it's going well. And you hope that with my contacts, with what I'm doing now, that I will build more within that own community, and then reaching out to other schools and being able to use them as a reference.
Yeah, I think one time just being in the process a lot of times about when we ask the question, we're putting our mind into a position that we're ready to receive more information. And even sometimes in the waiting, I've experienced with you and I've experienced with other coaching clients I've worked with, is that the answer has already come by the time you get a response. Hey, I figured it out. And I think that goes to mindset. That goes to, as soon as we're ready to open, as soon as we're ready to learn more information, as soon as we're ready to question our assumptions and beliefs, sometimes things just start materializing. That the answers were there. We just needed to be open to allow it to sort of consolidate again.
And once you work with the same coach for a while, like we've been working together, almost since the beginning of this, um, I sometimes in my mind, as I'm waiting for you to respond, can think, now what would Brent say? So I can already, start processing, like you said, what I thought. And you getting to know me and my personality helps you with the response too. How, saying something to me this way may not work with talking to another person, another entrepreneur that you're working with. So that helps when you build that relationship with your mentor coach.
Yeah, I would say that I would second that. I think, but I love the idea where you just hit on empowerment. I think that's a huge item. We have the power. Each entrepreneur, we have the power to make some of our own choices, and sometimes by looking at what others, when we're checking out podcasts or when we're strolling through a LinkedIn stream or reading a book or picking up a magazine, those allowing some of those questions to resonate in our head. What would Brent say about this? How would Kim receive this information? It puts us in that different mind space that allows us some freedom, honestly, to sometimes come up with unique and different answers, and sometimes it's the answer that we need in order to take the next step.
Right.
That's great. Talk to me a little bit about, I want to end up here on perseverance. What is it taken for you to persevere on this? Because this has been a little while in the making. And like many entrepreneurs, the door doesn't get knocked down right away with customers rushing up, as much as we believe in our minds that, like, this is the best product ever. Like, people have got to hear about it. They just have a bad habit of not showing up in droves the way we want them to. So talk to me a little bit about perseverance and where you're at in your stage in your business.
Okay. I think when I first started, I was very confident about the knowledge that I had and what I could offer. My fear is that I'm not always a real confrontive person. Like, I'm not that mom that said, my son's selling candy bars for 25 cents when you buy one. So I don't do that kind of thing well. So I think first I had fear and I didn't have confidence in myself. And when I started getting feedback from the contract that I had and started listening to your compliments, and that's another thing, a lot of people, and I know myself, for example, I don't receive compliments well. If somebody says something to me, I kind of just brush to oh yeah, well, let's do this, instead of taking in what they're saying, that, how well I did, or, everybody should hear this or whatever. So I think once I got over that fear a little bit, and what I was doing was starting to roll, and then I built more confidence in how to deliver it and how to say it. It all just starts building, and then you just blossom. It's just remarkable feeling because you know when you've come over that hump of that fear. And I think a lot of times when you just touched on that, we kind of already know the answer. And I think that came kind of from my fear and lack of confidence. I wasn't sure, like, should I be doing this or is this right? Or, so I'm always, every little thing I'm like emailing you, like, do I do this? Do I do this? And now I only email you once every 3 times, but I'm getting better. So I think that's what it is. Once you build that and get that, and I have a lot of family support. My kids are adults and they all, view and value what I'm doing and see the importance of it and say, oh, that was great, or you did a good job, or hear me on a live stream of other things that I've done. And my husband's, sometimes I feel he goes to work and when he comes back, he says, I wonder what she did all day. Because, but then when he's here and I have meetings and he sees what I'm doing, so it feels good. I think you just need to keep going and keep trying. It'll come. It's just going to take time. And like you said, I thought it would be instantaneous, and that's not how it works. But it's growing, and more people are contacting me, and it's feeling great.
Oh, that's great. Talk to me about, you mentioned some of your users, you're looking at the youth, but talk to me about who your customers are and how that distinction is important for you.
Well, and that was another big thing for me that I didn't understand when I started this. And you clearly defined it for me through little assignments and things that you had me doing as my mentor. I've always thought that my customer was the kids that I was going to be serving. And now after all this time, I'm realizing that they're the user and my customer is actually social service agencies that are dealing with kids, schools, athletic programs, social centers, after school programs, anyone that wants to offer this kind of service to the kids. And I'm learning that that's the market that I need to be in touch with, because I started out with the kids, and then as I started growing, I'm like, yeah, but the kids are not the ones that are paying me. It's the schools and the social service agencies. So I had to kind of revamp my thinking and like blogs and things that I was putting out because I was gearing them towards kids. So now I gear the information more towards adults, whether it's parents or administration, to questions like that kids would need to relate to. So like things like social media, I talk about that a lot and how dangerous it can be and what the effects can be if the wrong people are talking with your kids. And so it's showing the administration or social service agencies, hey, this is an issue, but they're bringing me in to talk to the kids about the issue. So I think that's a really serious angle of how I had to switch things and not stay at the same point of where I thought I was.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if people want to get in touch with you and they want to learn more about your business, how do they find out more?
Okay, so I have a website and they can go on the website at realitycheckbykim.com. There's a button on there for you to, send me an email or get in contact. My email address for that is realitycheckbykim@gmail.com.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to put that up here on the closing slide as well. And I want to thank all our viewers and listeners for listening to this episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. And again, thank Kim Malone with Reality Check by Kim for joining us on here. I do want to make a special invitation. If you enjoyed today's presentation, I want to ask you to subscribe if you're on YouTube Live, and continue to follow us if you're following through LinkedIn, or join the podcast as well. Additionally, Entrepreneur Encounters, in addition to doing these interviews directly with entrepreneurs, we also have a weekly forum live hosted that I facilitate. Come on, there are a variety of entrepreneurs on there. You get the opportunity to encounter people, share stories, share feedback, find out where you're at today, and get some support that we really need as entrepreneurs. It's not a solo journey. We may be solopreneurs, but it is not a solo journey. So with that, I appreciate everyone taking the time today We'll throw the information up there on the screen, realitycheckbykim.com. Do check it out. She's really an amazing woman. I've gotten to know her over the time. And if you're interested in signing up for those entrepreneur encounters, you can go ahead and do it the bit.ly slash entrepreneur encounters. And we look forward to hearing from you more and seeing you next week. Thank you very much.